This is a freshwater snail. Snails are part of a large group of animals called mollusks. Mollusks are invertebrates. This means they do not have a backbone. Snails can be found almost everywhere in the world. They live in the oceans. They live in freshwater rivers, lakes and ponds. And they live on land. To photograph the life of the snail, we will use an aquarium, where it is easy to observe the habits and characteristics of snails. The most striking part of the animal's appearance is the spiral shape of its protective shell. Inside, the animal's body twists in the same spiral pattern. Some snail shells are both cone-like and spiraled. They are also of many sizes and colors. The shell has an opening through which the animal extends or pulls in its body. Here the body is coming out of the shell. When fully extended, the body is partly outside and partly inside the shell. Outside is a large, flat, muscular foot on which the snail moves. At the front of the foot is a head, which has a brain, tentacles, eyes, and a mouth. The tentacles and foot are especially sensitive to touch. 2 or 3 inches per minute is about the fastest a large snail can move. Most snails move more slowly. Movement is caused by a wave-like rippling of the muscles on the underside of the foot. Here is another kind of snail. A special gland in the snail's foot secretes a slimy track on which the animal glides. The track dries and can usually be seen after a snail has passed. Notice the wave-like forms in the dried track. On top of the foot and behind the shell is a hard, plate-like form. When the snail withdraws into its shell, this part of the foot seals the opening like a door and protects the animal's soft body. Most snails are vegetarians and eat nothing but plants. Some are scavengers that eat dead and decaying material. Living algae or pond scum, found on nearly all underwater surfaces, are the main source of food for snails. When eating, the snail uses a file-like tongue called the radula. Hundreds of hard, sharp teeth on the surface of the radula tear the food into small bits. Here is a radula of a different kind of snail. These are marks left by the radula on the slimy surface of the glass after a snail has eaten. This radula has been removed from a snail so that you can see the ribbon of tiny teeth. On the inside of the snail's shell are most of the body organs. The mouth, stomach, and intestines of the digestive system, the heart for circulation of the blood, the gills for breathing, and the anal and kidney outlets for the removal of waste products from the body. All of the body within the shell is enclosed in a sac-like covering of flesh called the mantle. The mantle also produces the shell. The shell grows only around the edge of the opening. This is the only place where the mantle is attached to the shell. A lime solution, secreted by the mantle, hardens and forms the new parts of the shell. Here are the lines that mark the rings of new shell growth. Up under the shell, and just behind the head, is a kind of pocket called the mantle cavity. Water, which flows into this pocket, brings oxygen to the gills and flushes away the waste products of digestion. Here you can see waste products being flushed from the mantle cavity. Most snails have both male and female reproductive organs. Therefore, each snail can produce eggs from which new snails can develop. Before reproduction can begin, however, two snails must make bodily contact and fertilize each other's eggs. The pond snail attaches its eggs to water plants, rocks, or other underwater surfaces. The eggs are deposited in a jelly-like mass. These are attached to the side of the aquarium. Each egg develops a snail. If it is warm, young snails will hatch in as little as 5 days. As soon as a snail hatches, it begins to feed. The snail grows rapidly. Soon the shell hardens and darkens like the adult. By eating algae and other plants, snails help to control the amount of plant life in their water community. Snails, similarly, are kept from becoming too numerous by being eaten by fish or other animals. Thus, no one organism becomes so abundant as to endanger the lives of any of the others. We call this the balance of nature. As cold weather approaches, the snail prepares to hibernate. It crawls into a hole in the bottom of the pond, withdraws into its shell, and becomes inactive. There are over 80,000 kinds of snails. Land snails are common in tropical climates or in other moist areas. The slug is a close relative of the last snail you saw. It is also a land dweller. The greatest number and variety of snails live in the oceans. Slugs also dwell in the oceans. There are a great number of other relatives of the snail that live in the oceans. Can you find out how they are related?